I'd like to take you back to June 2012. It was summer, and it was the hottest day of the year. And it also happened to be a holiday in my culture, a holiday dedicated to learning, where the tradition is to stay up all night learning. And also to eat lots of cheesecake, which not many people generally complain about. But the learning part of it, well, I was at my friend's. Someone had organised a gathering. And it was slightly less traditional. So as well as looking at certain texts, we also looked at some art. We did some meditation, some singing, other things. And it was a great night, and I did make it up through the night. By the time I led a morning meditation, most people were already pretty relaxed. And as I said, it was summer, and it was the hottest day of the year. So when the sun came up that morning, its light poured and streamed in through the windows, and I thought to myself, wow, what should I do with this day? There's no way I could just go home and go back to sleep. I know. I'm going to go to Hampstead Heath. Who's with me? Well, people had either flaked on home or just weren't having it, so I knew this was going to be a little solo mission. Fine, no problem. It wasn't far. I was just in East Finchley, where I'd grown up, actually, and it wasn't so far to get to the Heath, and I had my bicycle on me. So off I went, and I was chugging along up the hill. It's one of those slow, long hills, breaking out in a kind of satisfying morning sweat, because it was still early in the morning in that beautiful transition between night and day. And I made it up to the top and parked my bicycle by the Heath extension. It's a kind of lesser known area of the Heath, that it's wild and woody, and there's an amazing tree that one year someone hung a rope swing from, and you could swing all the way up to the massive canopy of the trees above, and it was just thrilling and terrifying at the same time. But I went along to another special spot. There's a pond, and in the summer it gets covered over in this electric green moss, half reflecting the clouds and the sky above. It's got a magical, surreal quality to it. It's got a little alcove that I went and walked onto, and in the spirit of the festival I sat down and meditated a little. So there I am, zenned out in my zone, and suddenly I hear a voice. "What are you doing by yourself in the Heath alone at 6 o'clock in the morning? What are you doing?" And I started, and I listened to this voice, and I realised it was the voice of my mother. "Hi, Mum. Don't worry, I'm fine." But having heard that voice, I must admit I did get a little edgy and kind of looked over my shoulder. There was no one there. No, there was a sound coming from afar. My heart was beating faster and faster, but suddenly that runner came into sight, and I knew it was nothing. And we exchanged a kind of smile and a kind of nod at, "Hey, yeah, well done you for being up so early this morning." It was getting chilly. So I went back to my bicycle and I crossed over to the other side of the Heath, weaving in and out of different paths, kind of trying to get lost a bit, because I had come to know the area quite well over the years. And when I eventually did get lost and I realised where I was again, I'd crossed all the way over to the other side of the Heath, right near the Highgate end, near the ponds. The swimming ponds. Oh. Swimming. Yeah, hottest day of the year. I thought this was a great idea, especially as after 26 years of having grown up with the Heath virtually on my doorstep, I'd never been swimming in the ladies' ponds before. a crime, I now realise. So I went and parked my bicycle, and I opened the black gate and went down that gravel path, stripped down to my undies and stood at the edge of the decking. And I remember so well that first deep inhalation before plunging into that freezing cold water that pierced my skin in every direction like tiny little daggers all over, and I had to paddle faster and faster and faster just to keep warm, which I did, and eventually I got used to it. It wasn't so bad. Actually, it was lush. It was so cleansing and refreshing. The sun was coming up even more. I got out and I went to find somewhere to dry off. Remember, I didn't have a towel or anything, was completely unprepared. I spotted a small bench just around the corner with a ray of sunlight catching it. And when I went around the corner, there was a woman on the bench. Well, she was sprawled out, writing in her little notebook, no clothes on, right at home. I gave her a little, "Can I join you?" smile, and she said, "Please, of course." Her name was Louise. We sat on that bench and exchanged a few words. But mostly what we exchanged was appreciation of our surroundings. The big, blue, brilliant sky above. The sound of the birds and the fresh flowers and trees all around us. It was this absolute haven in the midst of the city. Actually, in that moment, it was quite easy to forget we were in the city at all. It was about 9 o'clock. And I decided that my journey could only come full circle by paying a visit to my back doorstep, to my grandmother's, who lived just up the road. So Louise and I embraced and went our separate ways. And as I walked back up that hill, another hill, I smiled, thinking about the last 12 hours. And as my smile faded, I had this kind of funny sensation in my stomach, this buzzing, this sensing the buzzing of the city that was just on the cusp of awakening. Once more, the chaos was coming. And in this moment, I was reminded of a little purple card that my mother's friend gave to me a few years ago before I went travelling. And on it read, "Go placidly amidst the noise and haste, and remember what peace there may be in silence."